now that we have the early warning sign, I always think of this like a bat signal, right? Like everything's ready to go. Well, then your body has to respond to this danger, okay? Whether it's slapping the spider, whether it is jumping out of the way of a car, whatever it is, it has to be some sort of response. Now, we could think about this a few ways, but I'm actually going to come here and talk about the fight or flight response, okay? The way we're going to do this is think about, okay, now the information is in my brain, okay? How does my body react? Now, many of you at home, you know this feeling, right? Sweating, right? Perspiration, or your heart's beating really quickly, or you feel dizzy, right? You know those reactions. But what is the actual order in which it occurs to respond to this threat? So let's start with the first one. Let's say, I'll use a different pen. Let's say there is a threat, right? That's always got to be the first one, okay? There's got to be a threat, and in this case, it's going to be a spider. Okay, well, what happens next? Well, after that, as we already talked about, it's going to go to our amygdala, okay? Direct pathway from our thalamus to our amygdala. Amygdala. Now realize, I didn't say cortex yet, right? Because you haven't even thought about it yet. So I'm going to have a little kind of like a little sidebar here that says cortex. In other words, after it goes to the amygdala, that's when you're going to realize, oh, this is a spider, right? After the reflex occurs. All right, so what happens after the amygdala? Well, it's going to go to a region, and I'm going to highlight it using green, a region of our brain called the hypothalamus. This is a cool structure. The hypothalamus does everything, right? If you think about one structure of the brain that plays a role in everything, the hypothalamus is that. I always think of it like the conductor of an orchestra, right? It kind of does this, says, okay, pituitary gland, I want you to go. Okay, hormones, I want you to release, right? It controls everything. So that's going to be our next structure, which is the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus, okay? Now, this is where things start. This is where things are going to start to kind of release into our bloodstream, and we're going to start having some hormones being released to kind of create that fight or flight response. So we have our hypothalamus, and then this is going to lead to our master gland that we call the pituitary gland. Now, as I'm listing these, I'm realizing, a lot of this happens simultaneously. Right, things happen so quickly in our body, you could say this all happens at the same time. But listing it out like this, I think is just a really good way to stay organized and structure our thinking, okay?